get a goal, it's just the beginning. You gotta sing when you're winning, everywhere you go. Everywhere you go. You gotta sing when you're winning. Get a goal, it's just the beginning. Sing, sing when you're winning, everywhere you go.
Hello and welcome to episode 25 of the Sing When You're Winning, a Fantasy Football League Oddity podcast featuring distant cousins of podcast royalty and a very special guest this week who some of you may know, but we will reveal very shortly. We're waiting in line for the podcast throne this week. And myself, Jamie, we've got the return of super sub Chris, who, to be fair, has been on this pod way more than some of the actual alleged panelists. So I don't think he's a super sub anymore. I think he's very much part of the gang. And Lee. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll go, and there's someone else as well, but we're going to introduce him in a second. So we're going to introduce ourselves this week. And this week, we've... because, I mean, letdown's a strong word, but for the second time, Magic Mod has kept us hanging. So I'm going to ask, have you ever been let down by anyone twice? No, when's your football team let you down? That's the serious one this week. Have you ever had a dead cert with your football team? I mean, this is inevitable, yes. But what's the biggest letdown of a game that you've gone and you're like, yes, that's nailed, and it's not happened? Who wants to go first on that?
Usually in the FA Cups with Leeds, to be fair.
That's what I was going to say as well.
Yeah, Histon.
And I was going to say Histon as well.
Sorry, Dan.
Histon. You're giving away our guest is there, Chris.
Am I not supposed to be saying? Am I supposed to be?
I'm going to introduce you in everything, Dan. I'm going to introduce you in everything.
They do it proper way.
This is the plan.
I
It's
never
kind
get
of
it right. I never.
It's
get
like a
any of it
bad
right.
episode of This Is Your Life, but there's no red book, and we won't have random people from your past coming in.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, only a good job, especially some of the people that have been on This Is Your Life in the past.
Well, indeed. I have to explain what This Is Your Life is to younger people because they don't understand it. And then when I try to explain it as a concept, they just look at me as if it's the lamest TV show of all time.
Did they not just go on Instagram and look at the old photos and
it's
stuff?
all about, This Is Your Life. Yeah, it was staple TV back in the day. Anyway, it's all going to pot already. See, Steve, you go away for 1 week and it all goes to pot. But yes, so we've got Histon for Leeds fans. How about yourself, Lee? Any dead certs that have?
No, it's a Tottenham fan, so it's like it's a bit like being a Leeds fan, to be honest with you. It's just kind of a lot of disappointment, very few highs. Lots of effing and jeffing on a Saturday or Sunday. Well, it's Thursdays and Sundays at the minute. So, yeah, especially after the score at the weekend where Everton beat us soundly, but only by 3, remarkably. That was the only miracle. So, yeah.
Was there any games in particular that you've gone, do you know what? I'm gearing myself up for the weekend. It could be a final. It could be whatever. Is there anything that you've gone, and
I think
totally screwed you over?
You know what? I think it was West Ham were the first team to win at the new stadium, and that or anything like that, where it's like who's going to be the first team to beat you, or the Dr. Tottenham thing that's going around at the minute. Like there was one going around in a group like saying, Calvert-Lewin's not scored for so long, Everton haven't won for so long, and all this. I just thought that's just so Spursy. That is just going to be it, but. Yeah, for a match, I'd say kind of getting the first defeat to West Ham at the new White Hart Lane, as I call it.
Yeah. No, well, like I say, our clubs do their best to screw us over. I think I've mentioned most of my annoying ones for Borough, either on this podcast, definitely on the WhatsApp group around Southgate, and I did comment once about this, and everyone laughed at me and said, like, get over it. but I can't get over it. It's the worst ever was when Borough played Cardiff in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup the morning after Chelsea got knocked out. So there was only us and Portsmouth left in the tournament who you would have fancied.
Yeah.
And Southgate thought it'd be a great idea to go out and get beat 2-0 at home to Cardiff. And that was it for me. I was like, that's probably the biggest letdown, because I genuinely believed that we were going to win the FA Cup for about 12 hours.
Yeah.
Even at quarter-final stage. But
I think when Leicester won the league as well, I think that was other clubs' opportunity to win the league. You know,
Yeah.
I think Tottenham were up there, but capitulated as they do. But I think that's probably another disappointment for other clubs around the top six.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
that was a
It happens
massive
every now and again.
opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, it is huge opportunity. Cool. Well, let's introduce our special guest. So yeah, we've done a great magic trick this week. We've managed to make Mogic disappear for the second time this season out of 25 episodes. But this week's special guest is described by himself on X. I don't know if you still use X. There's a lot of people bailing out of it. As father, brother, son, actor, Leeds United fan, full-time intolerant curmudgeon, which we like, and co-host of You've Spelled SWYW podcast incorrectly. It says Foxhole Company One.
Funny that,
So, yeah,
isn't it?
It is funny that you've spelled SWYW incorrectly, which might be a clue as to the last time you used your X account. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
But let's give a very, very warm welcome return, SWYW podcast welcome, but this time as guest to Dan Stewart.
Woo!
So you come on as a guest, Dan, and you get treated correctly and you get a round of applause and everything.
It makes a change.
Yes, you command that respect. It's like that's what you come on for. You're like, where's my respect?
And as a guest, you can swear as much as you want as well. So go.
Is that right? Amazing.
I mean, yeah, it just makes my editing job fun. But Statman Steve's. He's not with us, but he's shared some of your stats. So you're in the sixth thing when you're winning season. I thought you'd been going longer than 6 seasons.
It feels like longer, doesn't it?
Well, I think I must have started the same season as you then. I thought you were been around a bit longer, but you were 4th in 2020. You were 8th.
Well.
8th in 2021.
Yeah.
19th in 2022.
Yeah.
13th in 2023. 14th in 2024. And Steve said in his 6th SWYW season, is the curse finally going to get him?
Yes.
You think it is?
Without a doubt. This has been so horrible a season. I can't even... I mean, for those of you just tuning in, my team's called the Probably Cursed 11, and there's usually the name of my team has got something to do with being cursed. And it's sort of a joke, mostly because it seems whoever I sign in is instantly tragically killed or has some kind of horrible accident and never plays football again. But this last few months has just been, I mean, as an example, so I saved up all my transfers, forgot that everything changes in January anyway, so I'm there with a free hit, a wild card, and 5 transfers. So I go, well, I'll use all my free transfers.
Yeah.
And I brought in 3 Newcastle players just in time for them to probably never win a football match again. I mean, this weekend was just absolutely shocking. I couldn't believe it when I looked. And I'm like, oh, great. One of my Newcastle, I'm going to look at it right now. I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. So Hall got 4 points. Whoop-de-doo. Byrne got none. And Isak got 2. So out of 3 Newcastle players, I got a whopping total of 6 points.
Amazing.
I mean, I'm looking at my team. It's just awful.
Dan, I do have faith in you. I do think you can catch Steve up and relegate him.
Well,
has this become a thing now in the Premier League? Is this what's happening?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Chris, you're always a big fan of mine, and you always go, "No, you're going to make it." I really think this season, it's. I just can't buy a win. I lost by 1 point this week. 1 point.
That's worse than losing 10 by 10, 50, 100.
Oh, yeah. If you just get obliterated, that's great. 1 point when your 3 new players completely fail to beat. I mean, come on. They're playing Bournemouth and they lost 4-1. That's what happens to my team. It's just unbelievable. So, as you can see, there is a sort of, with a couple of exceptions, basically a downward trend. First season, 4th. And I sort of feel like I was robbed because something very funny happened in that season and somebody threw a game and it was all a bit weird at the end. Steve refuses to talk about it, but I think I came 3rd. He insists that I came 3rd. And since then, it's just been awful.
Yeah, I mean, was that the season where Steve won on the last game of the season? Was that what it was?
Maybe. Who knows?
There was definitely a weird.
And he won because somebody who was like going to win just decided not to.
Away.
To have millions of transfers.
Was it Steve
exactly. Had like minus 400. It was really there was something very dodgy about that, Steve. So we're all eyes on you.
Yes, exactly. We're doing an expose. Well, you're not here. What happened that season?
And you can't defend yourself. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it'll just ban us from the league or the WhatsApp group or something like that. So, should we have a look at what's been happening in the league in the last week then? Because there has been some low scores this week in the Premier League. The lowest score was for leader Mark Summerton, who was flying, but he seems to have slowed it down a little bit. Is that what's happening? We don't see your scores all the time up in the Premier League, but is Mark?
Mark's been running away with it, but the last 2 or 3 games, I think he's been pulled back a little bit.
Yeah.
Shall I tell you when he stopped being good? After he destroyed me.
That was his last. But you've cursed him. It's just a delayed curse. That's what it is. So, but just looking at some other scores there. Steve, that's probably why he's not on. He lost to Adam Devlin. So that's probably why he's decided not to be on this week. But there's some very low scores in the league. And Chris Payne, our Chris, 51-49. He won again. He seems to be flying at the moment. Does Chris. And in the championship, only Rich Lay and Tom Gregory hit 50. And he won't thank us for saying this, but Joe scored the lowest in the championship this week. And sorry, Lee, but I beat somebody 44-28, and that's all I'll say on the matter.
Absolutely battered. Well, you deserved it.
Well, it was the lottery, wasn't it? It was Salah clearly wasn't going to do it again. So it was like, do you go with Wood or do you go with Isaac? And I decided to go for Wood, where a lot of people went with a captain for it. Isaac.
Well, you captained Wood?
I did, yeah.
I've been thinking about doing that for weeks.
Paid off, but I won't do it again. I'm going back to Salah because he can't have 3 bad weeks in a row.
Yeah.
So he's had 2.
You want to bet? Watch me captain him.
Well, I think I'll know that you've captained him if he has a crack.
I might stick to Palmer.
You didn't sign Solanke, did you, by any chance, Dan? Because he's out now until February.
No, weirdly, I did trade him. I got him out, but I did captain Wood, which was about the only good that. Otherwise, my score would have been even worse because I have Palmer and Jackson. They each got 2 points. I mean, I'm looking at my side right now, and if it wasn't for Chris Wood, it would have been single figures. I think.
It was just a bad week all around, though, I think.
Yeah,
but I think, and again, he'll probably score millions now. I've said this, but I think I never was interested in Jackson in my team, and I just think he was a bit of flash in the pan for a bit. But he doesn't. You watch him, and he doesn't look like someone who's going to score goals to me. But watch him score a hat-trick at the weekend.
Yeah.
Because I've said that's what's going to happen. Guess who broke the guest's curse this week, though? Andy Cousins, who was our podcast guest last week. If you've not listened to that cracking conversation about being a professional footballer at Leeds United. And he won. And we don't often have people who win just after they've been on the guest on the pod. So there's some hope for you, Dan. There you go. And Andy broke that curse. But also in Division 1, Ben and Jamie hit the 70s in League 1 with relegation zone as Brez and Ches on the receiving end. This is all Steve's words. And there were low points for Nathan, Mike, and Alex. And in the Conference League, Finn Dunn with a big scalp in beating Neil Robertson, who's been on a bit of a high recently. And Becky Bass beating Casey with highs of 61 in the Conference League, and Rob Lally with the lowest score there as well. So yeah, that's what's happened in the leagues last week. But let's have a chat about real football. 3 games ahead this weekend. What are your predictions, starting with Bournemouth v Forest, one of the top of the league clashes? Who would have predicted that back in August? But yeah, Bournemouth, Forest, 2 teams going great guns. What do we think?
I fancy Forest. I do. I think they're playing such attacking football at the moment. I think they're unstoppable at the moment. They need an injury to Wood or Alanga to slow them down a bit. But I do think Forest will probably edge that 2-1.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Forest as well. I think they're just in form, aren't they? I just think they kind of appear unstoppable at the minute. Out of all the teams, they just, like I said a couple of weeks ago, I think, the Wolves match was my point in saying, are Forest actual genuine contenders for top 3 for Champions League next year? And they battered Wolves, and they just don't seem to stop. I think, like you said, Chris, actually, I think if they got an injury to Wood, I don't think it would hurt them too much. I think they are that good attacking, and it gets on my nerves that it's Nuno as well, and he was at Tottenham for
a few back.
Yeah, well, it's just one of them things, isn't it? It's just like, I think Manchester United and Tottenham are the places where careers go to die at the moment. It's just dreadful.
It does seem to be the case, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But even players, it's kind of some Spurs. I look at the starting 11. He's got players on the bench who you think, why have they suddenly fallen out of favour?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a bit of lots of strange goings on at Spurs, I think. But yeah, Dan, what do you think? Bournemouth, Forest.
I'm going to say Forest as well. Forest is a mystery to me because it doesn't seem very long ago when we were beating them in the Championship. I don't quite know when they got this good. And I mean, you sort of have to acknowledge that it's coincided with a real drop in form in the sort of top 6 that are normally there. So, Man U, City, I mean, who would have predicted they'd be 12 points behind at this point? And Chelsea not doing very well. So, Tottenham just being awful. So you wonder where they would be in the table if those teams were all performing as they normally do. But still, it's pretty impressive. 3rd place. I mean, what's going on? Yeah. It's like the late 70s all over again.
It is.
Yeah. Well, around this time last week, or whenever we recorded the pod last week, like Forest were beating Liverpool for most of that game. We were seriously looking at what would have happened if that had remained 1-0. But I don't know. I think it'll be a brilliant game. I think it's 2 brilliant teams, 2 managers who aren't afraid to try things out, and they're not afraid to kind of give it a go. That's what happened with Bournemouth against Newcastle. I mean, he barely got a side out, and they murdered Newcastle away, and that is a hell of a result.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't like to call it, to be fair. I think it'll be a good game of football. Football will be the winner, as they say.
It's going to be 0-0 now.
Yeah, it's going to be 0-0. It's going to be really crap. Man City, Chelsea on Saturday. I mean, this is normally a big game people will be getting mega excited about, but it's not going to really impact anything, I don't think. But anyway, what do
I can see City going on a run now. They do it every sort of January when they have a bit of a blimp, don't they? I know this has been a massive blimp for them, but I think the win on Sunday, I think they'll get themselves back together, and then they'll just keep winning consistently until the end of the season. They won't win the league, obviously, but I can just see them just storming everyone now.
Yeah, never say never about the league, though. You just don't know, do you?
You never know.
12 points, 4 match. But I think you're right. And I think, like Dan said, I think Chelsea are, up there by the virtue of other teams playing badly at the moment. Because when I've watched them, they've not been that impressive, to be perfectly honest with you. I think City will tear them apart.
And they do rely heavily on Palmer as well, so you cut him out of the game, And then Chelsea are definitely there to be beaten, aren't they?
Yeah.
True. Dan, do you care? Man City, Chelsea?
No.
I was getting that vibe from you. That's what I thought. For what it's worth, I think it'll be a 2-2 Man City, Chelsea. I think it'll be, but no, I don't think people aren't bothered unless you're a Man City fan or a Chelsea fan. I don't think that's a game that's particularly exciting.
It's a good time though. 5:30 on Saturday, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Good time to be in a pub.
It is. Or Saturday, I'm looking after you 11-year-olds, watching a bit of football, whichever way you want to look at it. Spurs Leicester on Sunday. I'm really looking forward to this one. Sorry, Lee, but I think it'll be goals galore.
I reckon we're going to put 5 past them. I reckon it's going to be 5-0.
Yeah.
I am confident.
Well, I'm tempted. I was going to get rid of Maddison, but I saw that and I thought it's one of those games where he's not been starting Maddison, has he? And I think he could bring him in, and Maddison's got a point to prove against his old club.
Yeah. I think Spurs will batter them. To be fair, I think they're done. I think Leicester's done.
Yeah. They've not got anything, have they? Van Nistelrooy had did he even at 1 or 2 games where you had that kind of that excitement of a new manager, but it's not lasted long.
Should have stayed at United, Van Nistelrooy, shouldn't he?
Yeah.
He was doing all right.
United would be better off with him as well, the way he was going. But yeah, Spurs Leicester. I think we all think Spurs, unless Dan, you disagree.
It's another big who cares for me, but I got to be honest. I see a really boring 0-0 all over that.
Yeah.
Or hear me out, because I just dropped Maddison. It's entirely likely he scores 4.
I'm gonna captain him then. So I'm gonna go wild.
You should. That's a big tip for next week. I just dropped him, so definitely buy him and captain him.
Definitely. Well, I mean,
Spurs playing tonight in the Carabao Cup.
No, with Hoffenheim tomorrow, I think.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, right.
Carabao is a couple of weeks. Is it next week or the week after?
I think it's next week.
If you get beat tomorrow and he does sack Ange, then you're definitely winning on Sunday.
it's got law in it. Yeah,
I think as long as you're in the Carabao, though, Ange is okay. I think that's what they're holding on to because he's so close to a Wembley final.
Yeah, I think you could be right. But
if they lose that game, I think it won't matter where they are. Another cup still go. Yeah, fair enough. But it would be something if he called it. I always season. If he did go on to win the Carabao Cup, that would be
something.
But he'll walk away from the club just like I can't put up with all this stress and pressure. I just done what I said I was going to do. Off I go.
Walk away. Exactly.
Is there a match on late on Sunday this week as well?
Yes, there is.
How come they're all fixtures are all?
Yeah, TNT have got Fulham Man U on Sunday. Right. So if you've got the back to work Monday blues, watch that and you'll feel even worse. 7 o'clock Sunday night on TNT. Fulham against Manchester United. Make sure you don't have many Fulham or Man U players in your sides because otherwise that'll be a ropey 2 hours of watching your fantasy football league. But yeah,
never have Man United players in the team. Never.
No, I've got a couple of Fulham players. I foolishly signed Iwobi after Andy Cousins last week talking about vegan football boots and what a great run he was on. And guess what? His great run ended when I put him on my side. So there you go. The silly things that we follow. Anyway, it's time to have a bit more of a conversation with Dan. So as we ask all of our guests, as you well know, why Leeds United?
Well, so my dad is a Huddersfield Town fan, and but my uncle and all my cousins are all Leeds fans. So when I was little, that's where we used to go. So when we were up in the West Riding, as it was called then, it was Elland Road we went to. However, having said that, I spent most of my childhood, I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast, where I would say, the legendary team of the 70s, and I'd say, Dad, it's Leeds West Ham, and he'd be like, no, we're off to Port Vale to see the town. So it's been a painful. It was a painful youth because I just didn't get to go very much. Then I lived in Horbury for a while, and when I was teaching at the University of Leeds, and I sort of fell in love with the team. And that was during the sort of second glory days in the early 90s and mid 90s. Why Leeds? Because I mean, the family are all, that part of the world. They're all West Riding, and glory hunting, I suppose. Because when I was a kid, they were the best team in Britain. So, if not the world, let's be honest. Well, my earliest footballing memory actually is watching the shamefully stolen European Cup final, and I was in tears, properly in tears. It was like, welcome to the world of being a Leeds fan, in tears, watching it with my Huddersfield Town supporting dad, who was telling me to grow up and stop crying. That's one of the greatest travesties to ever hit football, was playing out before my eyes. But that's my story with Leeds.
Good stuff. And I know you'll have shared kind of highs and lows before of supporting Leeds, but is there any kind of random Leeds United following tales that you might have?
Well, when you were just asking the boys about games that you thought would go one way and went the other, I mean, Chris might agree with me on this. I think for me now, the ultimate is that second leg playoff semi-final against Derby. 1-0 up after the first leg, early goal, and we'd smashed Derby, both those league games. And it was weird watching it because you couldn't quite believe what was unfolding in front of you, but only Leeds United could throw away a 2-0 lead and lose 4-2, have your goalie sent off. I mean, it was so unbelievably awful. And then to watch, oh God, to watch that ex-Chelsea, bleep that out, walking round Ellen Roads, with his, it was awful. Oh, it was so awful.
They didn't win the final, though, did they? That's always got to.
No, they didn't win the final. And where are they now?
Silver lining.
Exactly. And where's he now?
And where's Lampard now? Exactly.
He's at Frank Lampard's Coventry.
If anyone's cursed, who the hell would make him your manager? Because everywhere he goes, it's like Rooney. You're guaranteed to become the worst team in football.
Yeah.
So that was one of my lowlights, definitely. Highlight would be that I took a girlfriend of mine who was not a football fan at all, and I sort of dragged her kicking and screaming to see. This is back in the day where you could just rock up and buy a ticket. Leeds Liverpool, and I witnessed that Yeboah goal from the cheese wedge.
Oh, wow.
So that was probably a highlight because that's gonna stay, not just for Leeds fans, but all football is one of the great goals of all time.
Exactly, and to see it live as well.
The noise! It was like there was a, you get that funny sort of second of silence where the entire stadium goes right before the ball goes in, and then there's this roar. It was delayed because nobody could really quite get their head around what they'd just seen, and then there was just limbs. It was amazing.
Yeah. Phenomenal stuff. But and then didn't he score like a replica of it about 2 games later?
Against Wimbledon. It might even have been better actually.
Harder shot.
Because he was just making the goal of the month, like his goal of the season, wasn't he? He was just in the Warfest at the time. I remember match of the day.
What a player! What an amazing player!
Absolutely. So we've got some questions prepped, and we'll see whether. I mean, to be fair to Chris and Lee, they might have questions prepped for a certain magician, so you might get some of those questions.
I'll do those as well.
Coming your way. Yeah, one of my questions was going to be actually, what's your best magic trick, Dan? What is it?
Being absolutely crap at football.
I wasn't sure if in your acting career you'd ever tried a bit of magic as part of a role or anything like that.
Well, actually, funnily enough that you should say that. So this time last year, I was in a show called The Enfield Haunting with Catherine Tate and David Threlfall, and I was the ghost. And we hired an amazing guy called Paul Keeve, who works with all of the magicians. Yeah. And we basically had to sort of come up with ways for me to appear and disappear in a way that would make the audience go like, how the hell did that happen? So that was kind of magic, really. I mean, it was theatre magic. I knew how it happened, but it was quite impressive what we managed to pull up. It's all about misdirection. It's like, look over here, and then it's happening over here. Is that on the camera?
Yeah, I can see that. To be honest, when you were talking magic, I had Sooty in my head, and then when you did that, I definitely had Sooty in my head. There's definitely something going on with Matthew Corbett knew what he was doing, or Harry Corbett even before. Funny that you should mention that though, because we've had a listener's question. I was gonna save this, but as you mentioned it, I thought it links quite well. So who do you think we've got a listener's question from, Dan?
Would it be Grace Maloney?
It certainly would. It would be Grace Maloney, yes. So her question is, Dan, you played a poltergeist in the play that we did together. And there was a particular show where the crutch you were using as this one-legged ghost got stuck up my dress in a terrifying ghost reveal, revealing not just your ghoulish appearance, but also my pants to the audience. We obviously both burst out laughing, and the scary moment was ruined. Do you have any other memorable corpses? I mean, that sounds like a Yeboah moment. To be fair,
that was amazing. What was especially good about this is how many legs I had during the show. Anyone who's sort of in the business will know that this was a quite notoriously cursed production. I mean, it goes with me everywhere, even professionally. And I had quite a few. I had 2 legs, I had 1 leg, I had no legs, briefly. So this was a period where I had 1 leg and I had this crutch, and it was during one of these little magical appearances and disappearances. And I don't quite know what happened, but the crutch went up the 90 and it was all the magic was gone. Sorry about that, Grace. It was I didn't see a thing, honestly. So have I had any? I mean, I did have 1 missed entrance. They're always awful because you just suddenly realize where they are in the play, and you got someone shouting your character's name, and you're like, and it's always in a theatre where it's just endless corridors and doors you've got to run through to get there back to the stage. What else? Fell off a ladder once. Fell up a flight of stairs. That was quite good. Yeah, I mean, it's me. Look who we're talking about.
How do you go through that though? Do you kind of like play it out on stage so no one would know, or do you just go, it's happening?
Things like falling up a flight of stairs. There's no way that you can. Cool that off and just be like, I can do that.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much. So, Lee, have you got a question ready?
Yeah, as always, I've got a couple of questions because I can never think of just one. So, you do the Foxhole Companion podcast with Simon. Yep. Question 1 is, what is your favourite war film? Doesn't have to be World War II. It can be any war film. My other one is, you're known as the thinking man's Mark Strong. So what role would you like to play that's out there? What would be your iconic role?
Oh, good questions. All right. So the first one. So just for the listeners who don't know, I co-host a podcast called The Foxhole Companion, which is a chronological history of the Second World War, but by films. So we started in 1939, and actually we started in 1938 with an amazing film called The Seventh Cross about prisoners in a concentration camp that was made in the early 40s before anyone really knew that was going on. So that was quite good. So we do films from all over the world. They're not just your Hollywood typical ones, but I'm going to say the reason we did this podcast is because as kids, that's what, especially at Christmas, we found it's all war movies all the time. I don't know why, but it is. So for Simon and I, absolute all-time favorite is Where Eagles Dare with Clint Eastwood and Richard Burton. It's it's so stupid, it's so ridiculous, but it's great. And I think on a serious film, The Thin Red Line, I think maybe if you've seen that one, set in the Pacific campaign. Everybody's in that. It's pretty amazing. And it's a beautiful piece of filmmaking as well. What part would I like to play? Given my current unemployed status, I'll take anything. As you can tell, I played a ghost. So there's pretty much nothing I wouldn't do. So, but if I was being really serious about it, I'm probably too old now, but there's an amazing Tom Stoppard play which I did when I was in school that I've always wanted to do professionally. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are Dead. It's everything that happens off stage during Hamlet happens on stage during this, and it just focuses on these two really tiny, kind of small side characters in the play are the main characters of this. Oh, it's amazing. I'd love to do that. It's so funny, so funny.
Yeah, I think it was Tim Roth and
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman did it, didn't they? Yeah,
exactly
brilliant,
right.
really good. Super.
There we
Thank
go.
you.
Good.
Come on, Chris. Let's go.
Well, I only knew you were coming on before you came on. So what would your ideal sort of scenario be? Would you rather just stay in theatre, or would you be on something like a soap opera on TV? What would you prefer out of the two?
I did a soap opera in the States. I did As the World Turns, for anyone who's been in the States. Oh, that's hard work. Oof, that's really hard work. I had a good mate of mine who was once in this league, Ian Midlane, used to be in this league and he quit. He was in Doctors. Oh, hard work. You do an episode a day, so you're learning a whole script every night when you go home. That they really earn their money, those guys. I couldn't do that. Soap operas, no. I mean, I guess when you finally leave, you're set for life, but that's a lot of hard work. So yes, a nice little film somewhere really hot right now would do me.
Well, you could
those
recreate
ones,
a war film, couldn't you? Like in the jungle.
Yes. Well, that
World War
seems
II.
That feels a bit uncomfortable though. This is the sort of thing you think of as an actor at my age. You go, ooh, am I going to be wet during most of that? Am I going to be in a jungle? That seems unpleasant. What you really want is like period drama in a stately home, that sort of a thing. Maybe a Hercule Poirot on the Nile. That sounds great.
Nice.
Yeah, nice cozies, probably really good craft service, and a nice hotel at the end of the night. You can see how I take my career very seriously.
Are they making another series of that Death in Paradise? It seems like lots of people want that job.
Oh, yeah, it's a great one, isn't it? Get to be in the Bahamas, in the Caribbean.
Beats doing I'm a Celebrity and stuff like that anyway, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Would you do anything like that, Dan?
Yes.
Yeah. Dancing on Ice? Strictly?
Yes. I'd do it all, mate. Sign me up.
Would you do, because the Traitors is finishing this week, isn't it?
Yes.
Would you do the Celebrity Traitors? Would you do that one?
Is there a Celebrity Traitor?
Apparently there is, yeah.
There is an American one. There was
the
American
US
one.
version.
No,
Really?
apparently they filmed a UK one allegedly. I'm not, so I don't know if it went, but yeah, there's been talk.
Nobody asked me.
You get yourself on that. That would be
Yeah,
great.
that'd be
To be
good.
on, I reckon.
That would be great. I would be killed off like first episode. I watched one episode of The Traitors, and it was the first episode. People who are fans of it might know what this is. They showed up on a bus. They got out of the bus, and there was old what's her name, and she asked a question, and she just said, "You two, you're fired. You're gone."
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
They were done after about.
Yeah, but then they brought them back.
They're not really gone.
They brought them back, but then
they brought them back.
In this season, though, people got a bit cocky because they kicked 3 people off a train, and you can see these 3 people trying to be all nice, going, "Oh, I'll do it. I don't want to, but I will." Thinking, we know fine well we're coming back. Yeah. Only 2 of the 3 came back, and the 3rd guy was from Yorkshire, and he was off. He was like, "I can't believe I ruled myself out of this."
That would be me.
So that's the moral of the story: is don't be getting out off stuff thinking that you know what the show's going to do. But yeah, that's a plot spoiler in case anyone. I mean, if you're watching The Traitors, you'll be on the final week by now, surely. Anyway, I'll be getting wrong off your mate Lee for talking about things that aren't football. Bloody talking about The Traitors. So, right. Do you want to play Sing When You're Winning Superfan, Dan?
Come on, let's go. I mean, I basically tried to answer all the questions in the previous.
You do, to be fair. So this week you can actually have a bona fide genuine go. So each week where we test our guests' footballing knowledge and see how many questions they can get correct in 90 seconds.
Yeah, I'm going to say as a little heads up before this, I am one of those people. Like, so you say you're talking about a film, you go, "Oh, what's his name? The guy that was in that film with Thingy, with the thing." Do you remember that? That's my brain. So I'll know the answers, but I won't know who they are. That's so I'm a winner. Come on.
Well, if you do really well, like 6 is the pinnacle. That's where we're at. Anything over 6, and you will go top of the league. So we need a timer, and we need someone to be keeping score.
I'll keep score.
So Chris is keeping score. That means you need to grab a phone or something to time 90 seconds. And then when we get to 90 seconds, you need to think of something witty to end the time for that. And we are, as I always, using ChatGPT. And this week, just to give you an example of the kind of question that ChatGPT is throwing up to me, which champion? I'm not going to ask this question, by the way, but what is the name of the championship team that is based in Middlesbrough? The answer to that, of course, will be Middlesbrough. This is the kind of crap.
Why didn't I get that one? I would have got that one.
And a bit further down, it's what is the name of the championship club based in Luton? This is ChatGPT's on one, so I've had to shuffle it a few times to get rid of that stuff. So I never know what's coming up. Sometimes I appreciate it's repetitive questions that we've had on other weeks. But until the end of this season, should we do another one next season, I'm sticking with ChatGPT to keep it fair.
Go on.
So when I ask the first question, 90 seconds starts. So
you like that?
Yeah. Cheers, Chris.
Who is the all-time Premier League top scorer?
It's that fella, the one off the telly.
It is the one off the telly.
Who is the all-time Premier League top scorer? Is it still Shearer?
It is still Shearer, yes.
Come on!
I
won!
Yes. You're not the worst player who's ever played this quiz. Which team finished in 4th place in the Premier League in the 21-22 season?
Well, that was us. That was Leeds. Wasn't it?
4th place in the Premier League no, not in 21-22 season.
Oh, wasn't it? Oh, that was 22-23. 4th place. Who cares? Chelsea?
Lee cares. It was Tottenham Hotspur. So which team has the most consecutive Premier League wins?
Ooh, hang on. Is it Man City?
Yes, I thought you were going to talk yourself out of that. Yes,
yeah, I was, because then I thought about the Invincibles, but no, go on.
No, wins. Who won the Premier League Golden Boot in the 2021 season?
21. Was Salah already at Liverpool? Yeah, I'm gonna go Mo Salah.
Broadsword calling Danny boy.
Yes. That's the best one. That's great. Well done, me.
The answer to that question was Harry Kane. So Harry Kane. But you got 2. So you
I'll take that.
you
That's
are
amazing.
on. You're in good company with 2. We've got Andy, we've got Chris, and we've got Nigel on here as well, Nigel Clark. So yeah, and Brez as well. So quite a few of you on 2. So there you go.
Sweet. Well, that's just me, mediocre in the middle.
Good company. You're good company on 2. But again, I think you fell into the trap that Chesney did and took a little bit longer on some of the questions. But you did. In the end, you manifested the answer for Alan Shearer. He is the man.
It's all about the performance in the end, yes. Jamie. So
well, exactly.
Who cares about the result? It's how we get there. It's the journey.
Exactly. I think you're going to like this next bit. Let's have an update on Bletchley Scott.
Ooh,
so
yeah,
last time out, Bletchley Scott played. They won just before Christmas, if you remember. So they went into the Christmas break. They've had a nice break, but then it was postponed, the first game after Christmas. So they were back last week away to Shenley FC, who they beat earlier this season. What do we think? I mean, I've kind of teased it.
They're going to say win again.
They did a Bee Gees and they won again. They won 3-2 away and 2 wins on the bounce. They're up to 5th in the league. So a huge
Come
on, boys. There we go. So so good luck this weekend. They are home to Woburn and Wavendon under 15 Hurricanes.
Tough draw, that one. Tough draw.
Seems like a bit of a tough draw. But yes, it's a very posh name, isn't it? Woburn and Wavendon Hurricanes. But they're sitting in 9th in the table. They've only got 6 points, and Bletchley Scott have 14. So I quite fancy Bletchley to get the hat-trick. 3 wins in a row.
Go on, then.
Go on, Bletchley. So yes, and remember that you can follow at Bletchley Scott FC on Instagram for updates. So there we go. So yeah, this episode seems to have flown by, Dan. Time flies when you're having fun.
This is it.
So yeah, so it's time to play Shooting Stars.
Great.
For you are
Who's
indeed
a good boy? Who's a good boy?
Who's the special guest we've got, Lee? Who's stealing the show?
That's Ophelia, that one.
Oh, it's Who's a Good Girl?
Yeah, Otto's behind me somewhere. So, Macedonian rescue dogs from North Macedonia, so they don't understand a word of English.
Good stuff. Get them just listen to this pod. Probably make as much sense.
Come up here. My one's here now. Come on. Do you want to come up? No.
We'll have a special pets edition next week. We'll get that ready. So as you know, Dan, you're well versed on this stuff. We're going to ask you the questions as if you were in Match or Shoot magazine. So quick fire is the key. And we're going to learn a little bit more about the secret life of Dan Stewart.
Yeah. So come on then.
What subject did you hate most at school and why? I sense there might be more than one, but which one did you hate?
Yeah, all of them. Maths. Maths, because I was just crap at it.
Fair enough. What would you do if you could be invisible for a day?
Oh, God. Can't believe you've asked this, Dan.
No, I want to know what Dan would do if he was invisible for a day.
There's so many obscene things I can think of that I probably can't say. What would I do? What would I do, Finn? What would I do? I would rob a bank. Yeah, how about that? Be amusing, wouldn't it?
Simple
Just
as
loads
that.
of money going out, and they'd be going, how's that going on? Oh.
Cool. So you would rob a bank. At least you're honest on this stuff.
Yeah.
Who would you most like to meet and why?
Who would I most like to meet? Marcelo Bielsa.
Fair enough. Outside of football, what is the biggest risk you have ever taken?
I used to rock climb a lot, and I did some ridiculously stupid things. as a rock climber. Yeah. I forgot to put in the protection, that sort of thing. That's not what it means. Honestly, it means when you put your rope on the thing.
Yeah.
You're talking about doing something when you're invisible again, then.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I have nearly died so many times rock climbing. It's amazing I'm still here, to be honest.
But you must love it then. To keep going back to it, it must be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I would definitely fall if I did rock climbing or abseiling or anything like that. If you were competing in Mastermind, what would your specialist subject be?
Oh, that's a good one, actually, isn't it? What would my specialist subject be? Probably Second World War films.
Good stuff. And which actor would you most like to be and why?
Not me. Well, talking of Where Eagles Dare, Richard Burton had a pretty amazing life, to be honest, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he got to say broadsword calling Danny boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go with Richard Burton. Why not?
Good stuff. And final 2 questions. I'd love to know the answer to this one. What is your idea of relaxation?
Not watching Leeds, that's for sure. I'm terrible. I was not allowed anything fun as a kid, and all my mates, I'd go around to my mate's house and they'd have Ataris and whatnot. I'd be like, oh, that's incredible. So I have a bit of a weird late life sort of gaming habit that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Old games,
I know, but I
old
love
games or new games, you know, is it Atari or have you got like a PS5?
Oh no, the new ones. They just blow my mind, some of the things you can do now in video games. They're incredible. Yeah, I love that.
We watched a cartoon the other day, like cartoon film, and then about half an hour later, my daughter was playing a computer game, and the graphics on the computer game she was playing were better than the film that we watched.
They're amazing.
Was, like, playing in this game, it's just like phenomenal stuff. Any games you would particularly go for? Is it Call of Duty type of stuff, or is it a bit different to that?
No, I like sort of things where you have to use your head a bit rather than just blowing stuff up. Having said that, GTA is pretty hilarious because you do just become an absolute lunatic on that, and it's quite amusing. When my boy was little, we used to play Minecraft for just days and days and days. And we built amazing things together. So creative stuff like that's kind of good. Yeah.
Good stuff. And the last question we have to ask it: what was the first car you bought, and how much did it cost?
Oh, well, this is easy, and it was still my all-time favorite car. I bought a 1967, year of my birth, Triumph 2000 overdrive for 600 quid. And it was, it's the only car I've ever driven where people would stop you and ask, what is that? It had fins on the back, you know, so all this chrome on the front. And I was at the Warwick bypass roundabout and the brakes failed and I went into the back of a Severn Trent water van lorry. And that was the end of that beautiful, beautiful car. It survived all these decades. I own it. Dead. Killed it.
Amazing.
Excellent. And that is what we call Sing When You Win for another week. So thank you so much, Dan, for joining us this week. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at SWYW_FPL now. The double underscore is very important. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can leave us a comment. Lee once did indeed leave us a comment. Anyone else can do that as well. Ask us an FPL question. We do like to share a bit of FPL expertise on this show from time to time. But thanks to Dan. Good luck with the season, although I'm sure we will see you back on the pod.
I'll be back, baby.
As part of the panel. Thanks again to you, Chris. As I said, no longer super sub. I think you're definitely part of the crew. And Lee, I'm no doubt we'll see you again next week as well. But thanks for tuning in once again. Enjoy your footballing week. Keep on singing and keep on winning. Goodbye.
Cheers.
Bye.